We're packing it in today, folks. We've got a welder head-to-head challenge. Arccaptain versus Yeswelder. And a do-it-yourself project that's sure to get your creativity flowing. Stay tuned.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. So now that we finally got the plasma cutter fixed in our last video, go check that out. I'll put a link up here, over here, somewhere, up here somewhere. And we're ready to move on. And like I said, I've been wanting to make either a hydraulic or pneumatic ram press so I can make molds and shape thin metal in it. And I don't have anything like that, so I thought, here's a good opportunity to make something from scraps. And so I went to the pile and I found some material, as you can see here. And this is what it's going to look like.
I guess I'm just a visual learner, folks. It really helps me when I'm trying to plan something, a project, or something creative. I like to put it down on paper, and you know, it's not for everybody, but it helps me formalize my ideas and kind of see them in a real-world environment before I actually go to try and make them. Plus, it's a nice way to keep a record of what you've done and put your measurements down as well.
So that's the general idea, and I don't know if we're going to go with the manual. I have one of these right now that's extra from an old car, and I might just hook this up just to make sure that it works, and then we'll upgrade to a hydraulic one so that we can do a little bit more intense pressing. Yeah, that's the general idea. And the other day I went ahead and I made these two partitions already just because I was still playing with the new plasma cutter torch and I wanted to test it out and see how it was going. We've got it now so that it'll slide and we can make varying different heights. And basically those will just stand. We'll attach those to the base. And when you want to pick your height, you just choose a hole. We'll put our bolt in there, relatively speaking. But yeah, and we'll be able to put our molds, one on top, one on bottom, and we'll be able to shape some metal.
I'm not going to put all these cuts down on video. Obviously, that's super boring, and we want to just keep this video moving forward. But if you have any questions about plasma cutting, obviously, put them down in the comments.
I know I'm probably not telling anybody anything new or anything, but when you have a piece like this, and you have nowhere to stick your ground to, what you can do that's real useful is just put a little clamp on it. Or get yourself one of those magnetic grounds. Those work great. Especially for plasma cutting, not necessarily always for welding, but yeah, little clamp on there, put your ground on there, boom, works great. Nice, clean. That's the new plasma torch. Looks good. Very pleased.
So that's the gist of it. We've basically made all our cuts, everything fits, cleaned everything up. And then this guy will sit in the top like this. But first of all, we're just going to probably weld the base first and then try and get these set so they're nice and solid. And if you could come in close here, I just want to show you, whenever you're working with this galvanized material, you want to grind it down to shiny because you don't want to be welding right over this galvanized coating. So what I've done is I've just removed it on both the stanchion and where it's going to be welded to. And make sure, this stuff is super toxic and it's known to be cancerous, so make sure to wear a really good mask, or even better, wear a respirator. I don't necessarily recommend welding on this kind of material. It's just something I had around, and I'm taking extreme caution to make sure that when I'm grinding, cutting, or welding, I am taking care of my lungs and my health. Let's take a pause on this for a second because, like I said, I would like to do a quick comparison between our Yeswelder MIG 205 DSB and the new arrival in the shop, the MIG 200 from Arcaptain. They're both multi-process welders. They both seem to have similar features. I've been really wanting to get my hands on the Arcaptain MIG 200 ever since I saw it, and I couldn't really justify going out and getting another welder when I've already got welders that work. But since we've been working with the folks at Arccaptain, they've been so gracious and so kind and understanding. They were like, hey, we got a return. How about we just send it your way? And I was like, absolutely. I will take it. So if it is a return, I don't know what's in the box or what shape it's in or if it even works. But let's go ahead and clear the table and we'll do a comparison between the Yeswelder and the MIG 200.
If you've watched my videos, you know how I feel about unboxing, so we're going to try and get through this in 60 seconds. There's your torch. It did kind of come apart. I had to put it back together. Remember, this was used, so everything was just kind of shoved back in the box. You got your extender, a bag full of consumables, lots of different rollers, some contact tips, and the ground was in a knot, but we got that taken care of. It's got DINS 50s, pretty decent ground. And then the Stinger. The Stinger's a bit of an upgrade from other Arccaptain welders. I like this one. I think it's kind of standard with higher end. Checking the manifesto to see if anything's missing. I think there were a few things missing. There was a gas hose I'd already taken out. There's the welder. It's heavier than I was expecting. And really nice display. Everything's good. Back to you, Fred.
All right, so we got both the units opened up, and we're just going to take a look at some differences. Since I'm at the back of the welder here to begin with, the Arccaptain, like I said, it has the 120 plug, which I wish these machines would be the other way around, where you just have a dedicated 220 and then you can pigtail it down. But that's okay. If it works, right? Nice little on-off switch. It's very tight. Looks like there was intending something else here, maybe? I'm not sure. Maybe they had intended to do a 220, and they're just using some old casings or something. But there's your dedicated gas connection. And as far as the Yeswelder goes, pretty much the same setting, although it is a dedicated 220 welder. And if I understand it correctly, it cannot be ramped down. It is made to run as a 220 volt welder only. Whereas, obviously, Arccaptain can go both ways. You can run it 120, 110, or pigtail it to 220. A pretty sturdy gas inlet here. It looks about twice the size. On-off switch, pretty much the same. Their fan is like that, and Arccaptain's is kind of in this plastic housing. A little bit smaller, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Not really a strong difference. They both have their tech specs plates on them. So, now let's cut to the insides. Shed a little light on the situation. I've already done an inside video of what it looks like inside the Yeswelder, so I'm not going to go too in-depth on that, but, you know, the spool's nice. I guess the most significant difference right off the bat is the Arccaptain's much bigger. Not much bigger, but it's bigger. And that doesn't really mean much. It's all just about where these shells are made. And I'm pretty sure everything's made in China on both of these, but I could be wrong. But yeah, a lot of people have mentioned that the Yeswelder gear drive is back in here, back behind this wall, and that's super cumbersome because in the video where I had to make repairs on this cable right here, it was very difficult to work back in the hole here. And I think they've fixed that on the newer versions. This is definitely an older version. It's all metal in there. It all looks pretty good. And it was easy to deal with eventually in the end. And you can change out the liner and put a graphene liner in there and make this an aluminum welder. I bet the Arccaptain's the same way. So there's your Yeswelder interior, and it's pretty tight in there. I think that's, you know, you've also got your, yeah, there you go. There's your spool gun button right there. As far as Arccaptain goes, look at this. Completely open. came with the sticker right on the window, right on the hatch. It's got 2 nice little tabs. This one's got 1. Like I said, it's just a little bit smaller. It's not really a big deal. This appears to be hinged at the corners, whereas that's got a plastic hinge that's then tacked on to the welder itself. They do have a nice little ground protector. Sorry, I'm starving you of the light there. But yeah, look at how open this is. Easy to access. Everything, like I can even see into the welder, into where all the components would be. There's your tube that feeds the wire. It looks like Yeswelder's is brass, and this one is probably aluminum. We'd have to get a magnet and test it. Aluminum or steel, but yeah, definitely some interesting things going on here. But this is sturdy. Look at how stout that looks. Flip our switch here. Look at this big thing, giant wheels. Really nice latch. I like that, and I just like how everything's accessible. They've got a 0.8. They got a 0.8 wheel on there already, and this is nice too. This tube, everything's Arccaptain definitely pays some attention to detail, which I like. This is very similar to the Yeswelder. Yep, probably made in the same factory even. Hard to say, but this looks stout. This actually looks like this whole thing could just come off too, like super easy. Look at that. Yeah, might be hard to get your screwdriver in there, but it's a bolt, so you could just wrench it off if you had to. But we'll have to cut this guy off here, and we'll have an extra. I don't know what's on there right now, but I don't know. This all. Ooh, that looks like that might just slide right out if you needed it to. Huh. There's a lot of interesting things going on in here. I look forward to putting on a spool of wire and testing this thing out. Not really sure what this is about. Just a protective housing. But it almost looks like it could be a light. Kind of cool. Let's get this guy plugged in and just see how they both run. It'll be interesting.
All right, first up is the Yeswelder MIG 205 DSB. And we've had this in the shop for a while. We've been using it as our proprietary MIG welding machine lately and getting a lot of use out of it. We're very pleased, very impressed. Just trying to get my fit up here, you know, measure many times as you want, because you only get to weld once, or at least you only want to weld once. And we're gonna finish this whole base with, well, mostly finish this whole base with the Yeswelder. It makes strong tacks, it makes great welds. I might have had the amps up too high. I think I was a little high, but yeah. Just eyeballing everything, but staying within the range to keep it square. We're gonna add some tacks on the bottom here too. Probably do up all the sides with the Yeswelder and then switch over to Arccaptain.
All right, so let's kick this guy on. I'll show you my settings real quick. We went ahead and brought the operation outside today, and you can see it's gorgeous. It's a bit breezy. So I was losing a bit of shielding gas, but you know what? The MIG 205 DSB from Yeswelder, it's a fine welder. I may not be the best welder in the world, but sometimes with the right tool, it sure can make you look that way. So I'm pretty happy with everything. Like I said, I was losing some shielding gas, so they're not the best welds, but they're definitely solid, and I'm not too worried about it. What I did is I ran the sides, all the sides, and then we're gonna flip this over. We're gonna clean these up a bit. You can see the tacks. Tack, 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 tack. It's all ready. I'm just gonna clean this up, and then we're going to go ahead and switch out our 205 DSB for the Arccaptain MIG 200. And we'll switch the Yeswelder over to become an aluminum welder with aluminum spool gun, because I've been really wanting to shoot a video on that, and when I got this welder, they were kind enough to send me the spool gun, so I can't wait to try it out. But for this project, I was running 100% CO2, I think 030 solid core wire, and that was 90 amps, 17.5 volts, induction of 4, 2T, hot start 4, run in 2, burn back time 4. So like I said, we're gonna switch this guy out. We will set up the Arccaptain MIG 200, and we will run beads on all of these and anything else we might have forgot, outside edges or something. Well, just real quick while I'm switching these two welders out, I wanted to talk a little bit about the whips, your torch ends, and the red here, obviously, is from Yeswelder, and it's pretty decent. It's lightweight, but yet sturdy. It's got a nice solid neck to it. It actually has a screw-on consumable nozzle. Sorry, I got some anti-spatter spray. It's a little slick. But yeah, so this one screws off. And it's a really nice, decent, solid torch nozzle. Oop. Got some slag in there. And this is all pretty standard. But yeah, it's got a nice ball swivel with a little cord protector right here. And, you know, it looks like if you ever need to replace the torch, you get some screws. It all looks pretty easy. I bet this screws off right here. And as for the one that came with Arccaptain, it does not. It has a protector, but it's much smaller, and it is a ball swivel. This is kind of loose, actually. Maybe it's supposed to be. That just spins. I don't know. Obviously, it's a pretty generic torch. I mean, it almost looks like a flux core torch, like you'd get with the. I mean, it's a step above the one that came with the MIG 130, but very similar. And again, it's got the just the spring-loaded nozzle. Come on, you little bugger. There we go. I mean, it's fairly sturdy. It's just not as beefy as the one from Yeswelder. Got a little bit more of a directed tip. So I don't know if that's good or bad for the shielding gas. I guess we're going to find out. These tips, pretty much identical. Probably made in the same factory, other than the fact that this one is threaded and this one is spring-loaded. So, torches themselves, obviously the Yeswelder's a little bit nicer. It's branded, so they definitely are going a little bit higher with that torch, and I bet you can get a replacement torch from either company, but I guarantee you, you'll be able to find this. It says it's a MIG 15. I guarantee you can find either one of these torches from Amazon or some other retailer, online retailer. As for the gas nozzle ends, as soon as I pulled this out of the bag, this was actually loose, and this whole thing can just pop right open, and you can see all the components inside. So I inspected everything. It all looked nice. You've got pretty much brass everything and some nice pins. Pretty industry standard air, wire, or gas, wire, pins. It's kind of small. Everything's a little bit loose on it. Looks like it'd be real easy to work on or replace. As for the Yeswelder, it's a bit more substantial. It does have a plastic end as opposed to the brass one on the Arccaptain. So Arccaptain, Yeswelder. Yeswelder has sort of a
swivel ball at this joint, a swivel ball at this joint, and this sort of spring protector. This is just a bit of heavy-duty nylon. I don't even think it's a ball. You can see there's a lot. You can see there's a lot more play in there, a little more flexibility, but I don't know. Yeah, this is much more substantial. I've never opened it up. I never had a need to, but it does look like this part would unscrew and the two halves would come apart and you could work on your components inside. Really not a big difference other than that. Look at here. We got brass threads going directly into the welder, and our Arccaptain is plastic. Plastic threads, brass threads. You know, I've got a little surprise torch that I've been holding on to for a while, and I might actually, we'll see how this welds. We'll see how this, the Arccaptain welds, and then we'll decide if we want to switch out this torch or not for something better. All right, we swapped out our 205 DSB from Yeswelder out for the Arcaptain, and we have already put our wire in. We are using solid core 030 or 0.8, and yeah, this was so easy. I'm not going to go over this too much. It's all pretty self-explanatory, and if you don't know how to do this, you're a beginning welder, there's lots of other videos out there. I've even made one. Go back and watch the video on putting the Yeswelder together. Anyway, so what you want to do is you want to play with your tension a little bit. You run your wire through here. You make sure you have the right wheel, and this is going to be a 0.8, according to what Arccaptain sent me. 0.8 V grooved roller. And that feeds through there, and it comes out. That's your torch exit. So we're just going to feed this onto our guy. It goes through the big one there. And we'll feed it on there. We'll screw all this together, and we'll be ready to weld. Oh, real quick, I kind of touched base on this when I was just looking over everything in the beginning, and boy, it's all spelled out for you. And everything you want to know is right here on the door. It's awesome. You've got wire type, drive roller, polarity, gas type, gas flow. You name it. It's all here. Anyway, it says it's just a suggestion, so we'll try it based on their suggestion. And yeah, we'll just let the welder do it for us first. All right, so we got our torch all set up. We got our Arcaptain set up. We got our gas on. We're back outside, and I just want to talk about these grounds real quick. So this is the ground from Arcaptain that came with the MIG 200. Like I mentioned, this was a used welder. You can see somebody kind of had it too close to the weld and got some spitter spatter on there. But really, DINS 50. Not much different than the Yeswelder. They are almost identical, like literally to the T. The handles are pretty much exactly the same. The only difference are the teeth. This is Yeswelder's. Got this little round bump. And then some buck teeth. And they put this heat shrink on here. I think that's a nice touch. I really do. You know, it probably wouldn't cost Arcaptain that much to do the same. And I might just, I don't know. I might put some high temperature electrical tape on there. We'll see. But yeah, the teeth on that are a bit different. Just 2 buck teeth. And yeah, the braided copper wire. I mean, they're pretty much identical, people. All right, we're back. We are all set up. We're going to electrode positive because we're doing gas solid core, and we have our ground connected to the negative connection. We got all this set up. This is going to be for your spool gun. We'll look at that a bit later, maybe. Yeah, here are the settings. I have it set to MIG and Synergic,
which if you do Synergic, when you change the amps, it changes the volts. It's nice. I think I'm going to start at like 85 and just see what that does. We'll just do a couple of test runs with that. And then I found this was kind of interesting. With 030 wire and running 100% CO2, you can only go up to 160 amps. I don't know if I'd change that off Synergic, if I can change that, but no, I don't really know. Might only be able to use Synergic on this guy. But yeah, you can only go up to 160. I think that's weird. I am, you can see, hooked up to 220, which what I decided to do, nice long cable, is I just made this with some heavy duty electrical tape. I just made this a dedicated 220. So that can't get pulled out. And that's just how I like to run it. I don't necessarily like those setups, but it is what it is. So it only goes up to 160. I don't need that much amps for this project, so like I said, we're gonna, ooh, went too far. We're gonna go like 85 and just run some test passes on the same material. Let's see how that goes. Heck, let's start at 75. Yeah. 18 volts, 75. I don't see any of the other options to do like I don't know, maybe this is like burn back standard. I'm gonna have to look into this. You can do hard and soft. I don't really know what that is. I'm gonna have to refer to the manual on that one, but just for now, we're 100% CO2, 2T, 0.8 wire, Synergic MIG.
Well, number 10 there is supposed to allow you to switch from Synergic back to manual. I could not figure it out. We're going to have to take some more time. The soft and hard dial is your inductance. To quote Bob Moffat, no inductance, hard, crispy, sharp weld pool. All the way inducted, wet, fluid, buttery type weld pool. I know sometimes I speed my welds up, but I'm going to let these run because I think it's important to hear how this welder sounds and get used to it so you know if it's functioning properly. You should get so used to hearing your welder function that you'll know when something's wrong. I can hear a little hiccup. And my guess is it's the way the wire is coming off the spool. And that could be a quick fix. You could mess with your tension or just readjust your wire spool and make sure there's nothing getting caught inside the case. There you go, 75, 80, 90. And I gotta say, out of these three, 75, 80, 90, that's 75 in the first one. That really looks nice. Just for fun, let's kick it all the way up to 160 and see how it does.
Blew right through it. Holy shit. That's a thick piece of metal too.
Sorry about my language. I was raised by wolves. Clearly 160 is too much for that, so let's turn it down to 100 and see what happens. Here we go, 100 amps. I decided to go way back down to 70 on this one, and I think you'll see it's a little wide and it's a little hot, so Boy. Again, I'm not going to speed up the time frame here. I really want you to hear how this sounds. I like the way this welder sounds. It sounds great. It's got really good short circuit.
All right, guys, I had to get that pancake mask off and just breathe for a little bit, but man, I am very impressed. Those test welds, they were whatever. It was just a chance to try it out and see how it went, but that in actual application, I am very, very impressed. I actually had to turn that way down. We're running 65 amps, 17 volts, and I did mess with the soft and hard. This time we're on the other side of soft, and I really think that's might be the sweet spot, a little bit more towards the soft. Standard was fine. This first bead was just standard, and then I bucked it up to soft. And man, I'm gonna finish these last few passes, and then let's just use the MIG 200 to finish this.
Well, what you see now is just me putting the last pieces of the puzzle together. We went ahead and did all the rest of the welds with the MIG 200, and it performed beautifully. It laid beads right over the Yeswelder beads, and in my opinion, they actually look a bit nicer, but yeah, I may have just been taking a little more care with my Arccaptain welds, but hey, it could be the machines. I would honestly recommend both machines, but I gotta say that whip that came with Arccaptain, it kept falling apart like at the welder. It's not great. Hopefully they'll come up with a better solution. Just gonna get the stanchion on here. I leave that a little bit loose so that I can have some play, and then we got some big gaps there, so I'm just going to put some big tacks and kind of let it fall into place naturally, so that when I go to slide this up and down, it'll sort of just pull into place with the welds. There you go.
Yes, master. Rise.
Here's just some nice close-up shots of the actual welds. You've got the Arccaptain right there under where I wrote base, and you've got the Yeswelders on the left, and you've got an Arccaptain going right over the top. Again, this Arccaptain on the left, Yeswelder on the bottom on the right. And those were our gaps for that top stanchion, you can see. And honestly, the Arccaptain put beads down. They're not pretty or anything, as you can see here, but they certainly filled the holes, and there was very little burn through. Real quick, I just wanted to show you how I set up for the jack and how I was going to attach it to the stanchions. I just welded a washer on there, and then a bolt will just slip behind the back. And look at that, the Arccaptain welded that on there real nice.
All right, so that's pretty much it. We've got all our welds done. We've got our press all set together. I set it up, but if you want to come in here real quick, I just want to talk about the MIG 200. You know, we did most of these welds between anywhere between 60, 65, and 70 with this machine. With the Yeswelder, we were running in the 90 amperage range, which is really surprising because the Arccaptain was making great welds at 60 amps, at 65 amps. It did everything we needed it to. I know a lot of people complain that these machines don't put out the amperage that they're rated for, either what they're rated in the manual or what the advertiser says they are. But I'm sorry, if this thing is making great welds at 60 amps, you can't really complain. As I proved, you can kick it all the way up to 160 and put down a lot of metal, and probably make some really thick welds with it. So, well, there you have it, everybody. That is the whole project as of right now. I'd like to coat these with some marine grease so this slides up and down easily based on the size of whatever I'm trying to press or stamp. And I think what I'd like to... I'm not really 100% happy with this, but it'll get us through. It'll get us started. And I think I will switch this out for a hydraulic press, which will give me a lot more stamping power. But yeah, that's the whole project. So a big shout out to the camera person. And, you know, I'll probably make like a ship's wheel or something like you'd see on an old-timey wooden ship. But that's for another day. This will, like I said, that'll still get us through. Anyway, thanks for watching. As always, put on your best hoodie and go make something.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So this is our first attempt. This is what's known as a dry point print. If you're not familiar with it, they're usually done on copper plates. In this case, I used a piece of galvanized thin sheet. I find they just hold up better and you don't have to carve your image, recarve your image when it gets dull. So that's what you do. You carve directly into the metal. We're using some block printing ink from Speedball. And this is an ink extender, which just keeps the ink fluid for a little bit longer before it dries out. You want to coat your plate completely and then pull some of the ink off. And as you can see where the detail is, I pull quite a bit off so I get more lights against darks. And this technique allows you to get a little bit more character with the ink and how you press it. So you put your plate down. You want to put your piece of paper. You want your paper to be slightly damp. Not wet, but damp. Just depends on the paper, really. Look at how nice that thing presses. Careful when you pull away, and boom goes the dynamite, or Bob's your uncle, and there you go. This print is called Odin, as it is Odin and his two ravens. Look at all the subtle details you can get. It's not very sharp. I think it's the paper I was using, but this is just an example. If you want a real sharp, crisp, clean image, you should probably use some pretty high quality paper.